everyone, welcome to my channel. Did you have to work from home in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic? If yes, you might be eligible to claim on your personal tax return the home office expense deduction. In this video, I will explain the home office expense, the conditions that you have to meet in order to claim this deduction, and how to maximize this deduction. I hope you will find this information useful. Please note that I'm not going to talk about self-employment income in this video. Please subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for my future videos on this topic.
In the event of any discrepancies between this video and the CRA website or documentation, please follow the CRA website or documentation. So, what are home office expenses? Home office expenses for employees include workspace in the home expenses, office supplies, and certain phone expenses. For the phone expenses, there are certain conditions that you have to meet, which I will explain later in this video. It is important to know that the home office expense is not a tax credit. It is a deduction. It reduces your taxable income and as a result, reduce your overall tax payable. Due to COVID-19, a lot of employers have asked their employees to work from home. The CRA has made some changes to simplify the process for employees to claim the home office expenses deduction for the 2020 tax year. They introduced the new temporary flat rate method, which allows you to claim $2 for each day you worked from home, up to a maximum deduction of $400. If you choose to use the detailed method, the CRA has simplified the Form T2200S and T777S. In addition, they will accept electronic signatures on the form for 2020 tax year. The CRA has expanded the list of eligible expenses to include home internet access fees. In order to use the temporary flat rate method, you must meet all of the following conditions. You worked from home in 2020 due to COVID-19. You worked more than 50% of the time from home for a period of at least 4 consecutive weeks in 2020. You are only claiming home office expenses and are not claiming any other employment expenses. Your employer did not reimburse you for all of your home office expenses. If your employer has reimbursed you for some of your home office expenses, you can still use the temporary flat rate method if you meet the eligibility criteria. In order to use the detailed method, you must meet all of the following conditions. You worked from home in 2020 due to COVID-19, or your employer required you to work from home. You were required to pay for some expenses related to your workspace at home, and your expenses were used directly in your work. You worked more than 50% of the time from home for a period of at least 4 consecutive weeks in 2020. And you have a completed and signed copy of Form T2200S or T2200. I've done a comparison of the two methods to show their advantages and disadvantages. For the temporary flat rate method, the advantages are that it is simple. You don't need to calculate the size of your workspace. You don't have to keep supporting documents. and there are no requirements for Form T2200 or T2200S. The disadvantage is that the maximum deduction is $400. If you have a lot of eligible expense, you have a designated workspace, and you worked from home for an extended period of time in 2020, you might be better off using the detailed method if you are eligible. I have an example in the later part of this video. For the detailed method, the main advantage is that you can claim more than $400 of eligible expenses as supported by documents. The disadvantages are that you have to keep supporting documents. You have to calculate the employment versus personal use of your workspace and the size of your workspace. And you must have a completed and signed Form T2200S or T2200. So what is Form T2200S? It is the Declaration of Conditions of Employment for Working at Home due to COVID-19. It is a shorter version of Form T2200. You are only required to complete this form if you choose to use the detailed method to calculate your home office expenses. Your employer will fill out this form upon your request to certify that you worked from home in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you were required to pay for some of your home office expenses used directly in your work. This is the link to the Form T2200S on the CRA website. I've included the link in the description of this video as well. Let us go through an example of the temporary flat rate method. Assume Jessica worked from home from April 1st to May 31st in 2020, and she did not work from home from June to December. The number of days she worked from home was 41 days. If she chose to use the temporary flat rate method, her home office expense deduction would be $2 per day times 41 days, which equals to $82. In calculating the number of days, you cannot include vacation days, sick days, days off, or other leave or absence. Now, let's look at the detailed method and the expenses that you can claim if you are eligible. The first consideration is whether you are earning commission income. In other words, do you have income reported in box 42 of your T4 slip? If yes, you will be able to claim more expenses than salary employees. This is a summary of the most common eligible expenses. However, this is not the complete list. Please refer to the CRA website for the complete list. For both salaried employees and commission employees, you can claim electricity, heat, and water, utilities portion of your condo fees, home internet access fees, maintenance and minor repair cost, and rent. For commission employees, you can also claim home insurance, property taxes, and lease of a cell phone, computer, laptop, tablet. There are some items that you cannot claim, regardless of whether you are salary or commission employees. For examples, mortgage interest and principal payment, home internet connection fee, furniture, capital cost, and wall decorations. If you earn self-employment income, you may be able to deduct some of these items. Please subscribe to my channel for future video on self-employment income. As you will see, the detailed method is a little bit more complicated than the flat rate method. Let's assume Vincent worked from home from April 1st to December 31st, 2020. We will also assume that his designated workspace is 100 square feet, and the total finished area of his home is 1,000 square feet. We will assume his expenses include $1,000 rent per month and $300 of electricity, heat, and water per month. First of all, we need to calculate the percentage of workspace used for employment purposes. For Vincent, it is 100%, as his workspace is a designated workspace. For non-designated workspace, such as dining room, kitchen table, bedroom, etc., you have to calculate the percentage using the formula the hours worked in workspace per week divided by 168 hours. The 168 hours represent the total number of hours in a week. Second, we will determine the percentage of home used as a workspace. For Vincent, it is 100 square feet divided by 1,000 square feet, which means the area of your workspace divided by the total finished area of your home. For Vincent, it is 10%. The third step is to calculate the percentage of home used as a workspace and for employment purposes, which you just need to take the percentages from step 1 and multiply by the percentage from step 2. So for Vincent, it is 100% times 10% equals to 10%. Step 4 is calculating the total expenses paid during the period worked from home. For Vincent, his total eligible expenses were $1,000 of rent plus $300 of utilities, which equals to $1,300 per month. The total expenses for the 9 months he worked from home was $11,700. Step 5 is multiplying the total eligible expenses of $11,700 by the percentage of home used as a workspace and for employment purposes, which was the 10% calculated in step 3. For Vincent, his home office expenses is $1,170, which is greater than the $400 maximum under the temporary flat rate method. As you can see, if you have a lot of eligible expenses, you have a designated workspace, or you worked from home for an extended period of time in 2020, you might be better off using the detailed method. Finally, if your employer requires you to pay for office supplies or certain phone expenses, you may be able to claim those expenses as well. These items go on a different session on the T777 or the T777S form. In order to claim the phone expenses, you have to meet the following conditions. The cost of the plan must be reasonable. The employment and personal use must be reasonable. And you must be able to show the volume and cost of minutes or data you used directly while performing your employment duties. If you are using a tax software to prepare your tax return, you can select the Employment Expenses section in order to fill in the T777S or the T777 form. The Home Office expenses deduction will be reported in line 22900 on your personal tax return. The amount you can claim for home office expenses is limited to the amount of employment income that is left after you have deducted all other employment expenses. This means that you cannot use home office expenses to create or increase a loss from employment. If you cannot claim all your home office expenses in the year, you can carry forward the expenses. You can claim this expense in the next year as long as you are reporting income from the same employer. Are you interested in seeing a step-by-step demo on how to prepare your tax return? Please subscribe to my channel and please stay tuned for my future videos. Thank you so much for watching.